Hello and welcome to, well, I don't know, God knows what episode of Flat Out, Jack. What I can say for certain is we're in the middle of the season now.
We are.
We are flying along. We have just had the Coral-Eclipse, the first chance for those 3-year-olds to take on the older horses. Not sure we quite got that, but we've got a packed show coming up for you this week, full of stuff. We're going to go and have a look back, find out what we made of City of Troy. I can say that one of us will be taking on City of Troy next time wherever he goes. Stay tuned to find out which one that is. We'll be chatting about the weather, going updates at Newmarket. We've had some considerable weather. Things have changed massively today, so stay tuned for that. And how that, obviously, we'll talk about how that's influenced our thinking. And also, the best bets for the weekend from Newmarket throughout the week at Newmarket, York and Ascot on Saturday. So that is what we have got coming up this weekend. Jack, are you looking forward to it?
Yeah, very much so. It's Super Saturday, isn't it? And obviously the July Festival's always quality racing as well. No, it's a good few days to look forward to. I'm looking forward to it.
For sure, and I was obviously away at the weekend. But
you're looking a little bit tan.
A little bit sunburned, I think.
Yeah, a little red.
A little red. I'm hoping it's going to go brown. But yeah, I was out all day in the sun at the Deutsches derby. Was rather struck. Didn't realise they had 12 race cards over there. So you're actually in the sun for quite a long time.
Bigger slog than Royal Ascot, was it?
It turned into a real slog of a day.
A few steins.
A few. I think it was Holston Pills, which is a very good old sponsor of Tottenham Hotspur. Holston Pills. So I
struck a chord.
Yeah, I felt real loyalty to Holston Pills. But yeah, that was a long day, and I did forget my factor 30 or whatever it would be, because I thoroughly needed it.
Would have been factor 50 for me.
At last, I backed a winner. I got there eventually. I think it was race 10.
Well,
I mean,
better late than that.
Well, the thing is that over there in Germany, to bet, you have to fill out these little forms.
Okay.
And it's all in German. There's no English on them. So it took me till about race 6 to work out how the form worked.
Right.
At which point I backed and one big prize second, and I hadn't worked out how quite to do win and place. I didn't work out what win and place was on the form.
Oh, really?
So it did take me a while to get to.
Is it like a tote or the
Yes,
pari-mutuel?
Exactly, a pari-mutuel.
Oh, okay.
Only a pari-mutuel. There's just little kiosks around the place.
Okay.
And to put a bet on, you have to fill out one of their little forms, little checkbook forms, and you have to know what it all obviously means. And my German's terrible, so I had no idea what I was doing for first few races, but we got there in the end. We did back one winner, which kind of eased the pain, and generally had a very good day. So,
good stuff.
Enjoyable. So for sure, right, let's get on. Obviously, show sponsored by Opulence Thoroughbreds.
Opulence Thoroughbreds is a racing and breeding syndicate operating at the highest level, with top quality horses, first-rate trainers, stable visits, social events, and not forgetting your share of the prize money and sales proceeds. Nothing compares to the thrill of watching your horse win. Head to opulencethoroughbreds.com to find out more.
Right, before we get on to Sandown at the weekend, I've just got to plug for you the opportunity to go on a stable tour at Jane Chapel Homes.
Yeah, how exciting is that? Yeah.
Definitely a great opportunity for anyone. The only caveat is you need to bring your partner. This is for a ladies syndicate essentially, so a lady has to be involved in this horse. It's a horse called Impatiently. She is trained by Jane Chapel Home.
One of the best female trainers in the country, if not the best. So.
Trying to get more women into racing, so this is a great opportunity to come with your partner to an open day on the 20th of July. If you are interested in getting involved, please do comment below, just let us know, but send an email to tickets@racingtv.com. That will also be in the description for you, so you know exactly where to go. But please do comment and show your interest. I think it'd be a great opportunity to go with your partner, to go and basically see what goes on at a racing yard.
Yeah, and if you've never been to Newmarket, it's a chance to have a look at the town, see how amazing it is that there's 3,000-4,000 horses, and you're driving through the streets like, where's all the horses? Get out on the heath, and it's incredible, really. I think it's something, if any racing fan is in the vicinity, it's a great opportunity to go, and then you get a chance to look behind the scenes. I think it's a great opportunity for anyone, and you might end up thinking, I want to get involved. So
exactly, plenty of shares available in this filly. She ran really quite well Yarmouth first time out against some very nicely fancied horses, some expensive horses. So I think she's certainly a filly that'd be interesting for people to get involved with. So please do, if that would interest you at all, please do get involved. Right now, time for the Coral-Eclipse, Jack. What do we make of it?
Maybe it's a bit harsh saying it, but it felt like a bit of a damp squib. Pardon the pun with the way it worked out. It was just really disappointing. I know obviously we we touched on it, really hoping an extra dimension with White Birch, and as we said at the top of the show there, it didn't quite work out to be the clash of the generations. As it turned out, it was Al Riffa who put up the biggest challenge to him, but it wasn't the clash maybe with a White Birch or a Passenger who hasn't been quite right either.
I did feel a bit sorry for Ghostwriter though, like in terms of I thought he was the one that challenged City of Troy first.
Yeah, it looked like he came there and just the ground kind of blunted him, but as it did probably City of Troy as well. We'll get into the nitty gritty. I don't want to just say that's it, but like we'll probably get into it in a second. But he definitely wasn't at his best, City of Troy, and to be fair, to his credit, he has pulled out and gotten the win, which is the main thing. But it as ratings have kind of come out of the Racing Post, they've rated it as their worst race, and the general eye test, it felt like a disappointing renewal as well.
Their worst Coral-Eclipse.
It's in recent years or something like that.
Yeah, or something along those lines.
In the last decade or 20 years or something, it's one of their worst. I think Hawkbill was the only one off the top of my head that was rated worse in recent years. And I would go along with that. It did feel like a disappointing renewal.
Just on the sheer lack of quality of opposition, in terms of, and I'm not trying to say that Ghostwriter can't go on to be a very, very good horse.
Of course.
We're starting to see, as much as one of my horses follow, that Al Riffa probably isn't, quite as good as we thought he was going to be when he won the national stakes at the Curragh. So looking at the Derby, we're still learning about it. So I'm not trying to say that this won't look a little bit better in 6 months' time.
100%, yeah.
But from what usually you have a much stronger stick to rate City of Troy with than Al Riffa, which is all you've really got at this moment in time.
I think one thing you kind of could say, if you look on the positive side of it, is that Al Riffa had his conditions and he wasn't good enough to win, even against a subpar City of Troy who was a bit keen. So there are positives if you want to glean it that way as well, perhaps.
That's the way I would go. I mean, I did think alarm bells were ringing loud and clear turning in when Ghostwriter went up on City of Troy's inside and went a length past him, well, half a length past him at least.
Yeah, that bottom bend, watching it, personally, I was like, he's beaten here. Because, and it was very interesting to see that Aidan did say that in his post-race interview as well, that he took sort of like a dodgy step, and you can't actually see that at the bottom bend. And Ryan was obviously keen enough early in those first 2 or 3 furlongs as well. He's then had to kind of sit and find his rhythm at a time when the race is quickening, because you want out in front, Hans Andersen, he didn't go overly quick, did he?
No.
I think the other 2 handicaps were quicker to a point, and then they've sprinted home.
Yes.
In obviously time and ground. So I can't get behind the excuses more of this run than the whole stall singing Guineas. I still don't really buy into that. I think he's probably just had an off day that hit, but I kind of can buy into those excuses. That being said, I think that level of form, even if he is on and off it, I don't think he is the superstar that I certainly had hoped he'd be, and kind of the hype that's been given to him either. And going forward, Judd Montt, he's got an entry in King George. Going forward, I'd be looking to take him on wherever he runs, and that's hoping that a Passenger or a White Birch, or one of these older horses, I'll be looking to take him on.
Yeah,
and he's going to be favourite in these races. So. I'm looking forward to it, and it'll probably be the Judd Montt one.
And I disagree. I think that from this we're going to get a bigger price. He might actually be backable next time.
I think he eased to 6-4, which is short enough for me.
Yeah, well, I think on the day he's going to be around that price, maybe slightly bigger.
Yeah.
And I think that's infinitely backable to me. I thought this was. I thought it was disappointing, no doubt. But I think that if you look at the way this horse moves, he is a quicker ground horse, and it was clearly saying it was quite soft ground that day. And for me, the way he hung, the way all the things were happening in the race, he looked like a horse that just wasn't enjoying the ground to me. And so we all know that the type of ground can differ from track to track, and I do think when that Sandown course does get a bit soft, some horses don't like it. And I thought that hanging to the right, the things I really didn't like. But what I did like was how he battled. I thought he battled like a really good one. And he's come back into the paddock afterwards and like he's barely turned a hair. I think he was just throwing his toys out the pram a bit for me. And but then he's gone and got the job done anyway. So I think we go on. I think the one thing I do think is that this horse is no dirt horse.
Yeah, no, I can get behind that as well.
Cannot for the life of me think that that's a go. I mean, I know they'll probably do it anyway because of the potential benefits of if he did happen to be to take to it.
I just don't think he's good enough either.
I mean, can you imagine him going over there? Like, surely you'd want him over there for a whole year to get used to it. It's not like Giant's Causeway.
No.
I mean, God, Jesus.
Taking him a Seville for a prep run or prep gallop, light years away from what you actually need, isn't it?
Surely Giant's Causeway is just the best example.
Yeah.
Of that. And he put up an absolutely monumental effort against Tiz now, didn't he? But a very different type of horse. Like, he's just an absolute battler, traveller, forward going. Obviously, City of Troy does those things to some extent, but a horse like Giant's Causeway seemed to do it all the time. This horse has blown out once, thrown his toys out the pram a little bit in the Eclipse potentially, and going forward, he wouldn't be the sort of horse I would be thinking. If you brought him back as a 4-year-old and said, right, we'll just station him out there and go for these races, then maybe. But
that's not going to happen. I just
think, you've got I do think he's a very good horse, and we've got the level, haven't we? And I think Baid is the best horse of recent years, of like the last good few years.
Yeah.
We're going to need something from City of Troy that's pretty good in the Juddmonte International.
He's not even close to that yet for me.
No,
he's fallen it.
I understand that, but I mean, he's actually turned up as a 3-year-old, which does help, and he's doing that stuff now. But I do think that the way that kind of straight suit, that's a long straight there at York. Ryan rides York as well as anybody, and it'll get him rolling from a long way out. And there's a chance he puts up a very big performance, like he suggested he might after the race. I'd be more a back at than a layer next time up.
I'll certainly be taking him on.
There we go. That's the Coral-Eclipse. We move on. We probably should mention at this point. We didn't really mention Purosangue and Coral Charge, did we?
We didn't, no.
And I would like to apologise for Opulence for that, of course, but I would say also that we didn't know at the time we were going to get so much rain.
That is true, yeah.
And this horse has just jumped forward massively for the dosing of rain on the track, I think, this year. His best performance last year was on soft ground. This year, a bit of rain comes, suddenly he jumps forward and he looked the winner all over. He's come from a bit further back than Makarova as well.
He has, and he's been out in the centre of the track, which is probably not where you want to be. The way the race did pan out probably did help him. Obviously, the search and gallop into a bit of a headwind. Yeah. But going on and races at like Goodwood, that's going to suit. But no, that was a huge effort, to be fair, and probably a career best, to be fair, even though he hasn't won. Certainly, and we should mention this point that the target next time for Purosangue will probably be the Stewards' Cup, off a mark about 102, I believe. So very workable in that race. Horses off big weights have won it. I mean, it's not an easy race to win, though. Certainly not, but it's certainly no deterrent, is it, to be racing exactly over 100? And to be fair, we were just talking before. If you're not looking at the Stewards' Cup, it's races like the Group 2 King George. Yeah. I think it's King George. Downhill fight. It's the same name as obviously the King George Ascot and the Nunthorpe as well, but maybe he won't get softening ground there. So I was even thinking maybe something like the Abbey at the end of the year, just because you will get soft ground on that day, and if you do get a low draw there, you're asking for like Makarova in that last year, didn't she? And the Irish horses. But there's so many hard luck stories. But yeah, absolutely. If you get a good draw, then it's just where you can. Luck. I mean, I think he's probably. We're not talking about superstar as of yet. This horse, maybe makes a jump forward in the autumn, but that would be the sort of race where you can win a Group 1 as not being an absolute superstar. So I was thinking maybe that'd be one for him. And if you're showing this form at 3, often these sprinters can kind of lose their way in this sort of intermediate period. It only bodes well for what you can do as a 4-year-old. Certainly. Strengthens up further. I wouldn't be too disappointed with Desperate Hero either. I thought he ran quite well in the circumstances. So I think he's shown that he's progressive. Considering, as I say, into a headwind, that wouldn't suit any front runners in that race. So you thought he was winning from about a furlong out. It shows to me now that wasn't a fluke, and you can have a go. I think the way he goes as well. I know he has won those races on heavy ground, but I think that the slightly better ground will see him to better effect because he can get out in front and maybe not be quite so vulnerable late on if he does go a bit quicker than ideal. So something like the Nunthorpe would be the place for him. Similar race at the Flying 5 and the Abbey as well. Yeah, absolutely, completely agree. Right, we do have unfortunately some sad news to bring you. Yeah, sad news. So I think we should probably talk about that now. Yeah, some really sad news. So Aurora Dawn, who obviously gets an honorary mention every week pretty much. This will probably be the last time we mention her, sadly, because she had an accident at home She got loose, I think, or
Yeah. Anyway, but these things happen, don't they? With horses, unfortunately. And she had to be humanely put down, sadly.
Yeah.
So that is obviously devastating.
Very sad for Connections, the Ed Walker team as well. I really did adore this filly. So no, it's really sad. Really sad.
Absolutely awful for everyone involved, especially at home as well. Obviously the owners, but especially at home with everyone who deals with these horses every day. It's always absolutely devastating when something like this happens, because obviously it's just been an accident. So horribly sad news, and a real shame that we will not be seeing her on the racecourse again. But we must kick on with the rest of the show. So we're on to the previews in this week's racing, Jack.
Mm-hmm.
We're off to Newmarket first of all with the Prince of Wales Stakes, the 3:35 on Thursday. I think this is quite an interesting race to talk about. It's been a race of changing complexion, because at this point we should probably again note the ground for this week.
Well, yeah, we're recording Tuesday night as usual. This is going to go out Wednesday, but throughout Tuesday, it seemed like the whole of the country got rain, 20 mils. It's been absolutely bucking down here in London all day. Ascot's now soft heavy in places after, I think, 20 mil. York's gone from good to firm to good. They've had 18 mils. And Newmarket have had a little bit as well. They are now soft as well. So a real softening in the ground all over. York could even turn good to soft if this rain kind of persists. So they've got more showers now. So hopefully it should dry out and we'll get no worse than that. But it's worth bearing in mind that certainly for races like the Falmouth, we might touch on Porta Fortuna needs it like a road. So that's going to play a big part in obviously our thinkings, and it's where your starting point for anything really, and it's going to be quite testing in some at some tracks. Certainly Ascot soft heavy in places, which is ridiculous for July.
Absolutely, but you do always have this wet week or so. You do have a good little wet spell in the British summer all the time, don't you? And that seems to be, with this one, the thing that has happened is what and I think we should probably note this now, is that it's been a very wet spring, wetter and colder and more miserable than I can remember for ages.
Yeah.
And it feels like Newmarket just isn't getting going.
Yeah. No, I
mean, I saw earlier in the week, they're kind of winners at Royal Ascot compared to previous years, massively down. As a town, it's really struggling for whatever reason.
Another shocking week for Appleby. They completely blew out as well.
They did. I mean, they're going to fire a few more darts at this being a home game.
Yeah, they will.
So you'd expect them to come roaring back this week. But just speaking about this race, for me personally, I was all set to tip Giavolotto in this.
Yeah.
I was really hoping that, we were going to essentially get a load of softer ground horses taking him on. And unfortunately, that's no longer going to happen, it seems. It seems like Hamish is going to come here and now seems a very solid favourite. Because, just on Giavolotto, I was looking forward to seeing him drop down to 12 furlongs on this sort of course with a front runner in there like Outbox that will carry them along. He does seem to travel quite well over 1 mile 6 at courses like York.
Yep.
And I thought that this might be a very similar test, and that he could show some of his class, which he's clearly got, but he is a bit of a York specialist. But I thought that this could be a good avenue for him to win over 1.5 miles. But now you've got Hamish in there who ran so well last time out.
He did on ground that would be quick enough. It was near enough good, wasn't it? And the thing about Hamish, he's quite a funny horse. Like, I wouldn't be touching on around 6 to 5. He's one of those ones that's sort of 3-4 to 1 above when you get his conditions. He's a bet, but I just remember him getting beat by Max Vega at Newbury. I don't know if it was 2 years ago or 3. And he's a grand horse. I think he's beatable, and certainly like a horse like a Rest who will get his conditions.
Yes.
It's a no bet race for me. I think one of the winners will be those two. As you say, I can absolutely see the angle now of not touching Giavolotto.
Because it's all kind of good ground form to me.
Exactly, yeah.
And soft ground just makes it unappealing, unfortunately. So we do have to skip on to the Friday, and the Falmouth is a race we wanted to talk about briefly. It's not the best
Very
Falmouth
briefly,
I've ever seen. Porta Fortuna, probably not going to run.
Probably not, no. As we said, I've got to hold my hands up about this filly. Like, I remember our preview of the Guineas, I said that she was one I'd be very much worried about training on. Yeah. And she's completely destroyed those thoughts, like how well she's ran. And Donica O'Brien's done a great job with her, and absolutely thoroughly deserving winner at Ascot. I don't think there's any reason to come here quite quickly as well on the back of that effort. I think it's 3 weeks, isn't it, since Ascot? So you've got like the Matron, the French races as well. But I'd say that race, the matron, will be the one for her now.
Yeah.
She's got a Group 1. What's the point in kind of bottoming her on soft ground here?
Completely agree. I don't really have anything much more to add other than I think a Lilac Roller is another one that could run really well here.
Yep.
She's gutsy, and if you're fancying something on the day, I'd probably play her each way as long essentially we got enough runners, which does look a little bit unlikely at this stage. So
yeah, look, so Friday. So by the time this is coming out, we're going to kind of have the deck. So it's a tricky spot for us to kind of even take a view in terms of anywhere. We'll be putting something up, and then tomorrow morning, it's like the prices aren't even the same. So.
Because again, like a Lilac Roller is probably going to be sub 4-1. So
if Porta Fortuna comes out, which we expect at this point, so.
Absolutely, and I think she's near enough 4-1 now. So on we go to the Saturday, which is where we have our strongest views. Where specifically you have very strong views, which is what the listeners want to hear. They want to see if they're looking, if they're using their eyes rather than their ears as well.
Yeah, Spotify.
Well, we hope they're using their ears as well. I mean,
absolutely.
Not having the ears would be a bit of a pointless episode, wouldn't it be for everyone? So no.
Yeah.
For those of you watching on YouTube, for those of you listening, what are you going to talk to us about first?
So where do we start? We're going to start probably the Bunbury Cup at Newbury.
Oh, go on then.
Newmarket even.
Go on then. A race we
Well,
we do.
one thing to sort of start on is we both put up the same horse in this last year, and we had the winner in Biggles.
Yeah.
I think it was 8-1. Good winner.
Very good winner.
And we both really like one at double figure prices this year. Like
we certainly do.
Like it would be one of my strongest of the week, and I know it is your strongest.
Now Giovanotto is no longer going to get the ground that he wants.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'll let you go first because I'm going to probably put up the same case. So I'll let you do all the hard work.
Well, we'll just be very quick.
Yeah.
Oh wow, a horse that I've put up number of times. On
that as well. Yeah, I think he is more of he's your horse, isn't he?
Well, I like him. He's a strong travelling horse. He finished third in this race. Didn't he to Biggles last year? Now, he was, as you say, he was off a mark of 105 by then. And I do think he can potentially win off that given the right circumstances, which he didn't quite get after that. Because, I mean, obviously people will point to the last run in the Balmoral. But as you say, as we spoke about earlier, he wasn't on the right side of the track. It just didn't pan out for him that day. And it'd been a fairly long season with him starting at the Lincoln, the Lincoln as well. So plenty of excuses for me. As I say, he ran well in this race last year, down to a mark of 102. I think they finally found that they're going to have to just wait for soft ground for this horse. So as long as we continue to get showers throughout the week, which I hope, I think his run style is going to be grand. He's out the stalls nice and fast to get a prominent enough position. And I could see him tanking through the race in the same way as Biggles did last year. He also did last year.
Yep.
But then him also just being good enough to win.
Yeah, not too much to add. I think it's the handicapper has been quite lenient to drop them.
I agree.
For that run at Ascot, completely given an impossible task with the way his racing position was, and it was So £3 lower. He went off 7-2 favourite in this last year. And the only reason I can think he's not that price now is because it's his seasonal reappearance.
But he goes so well fresh.
That's what I was just about to say. It would not put me off in the slightest because he's such a good horse fresh. Yeah. James Doyle's already booked up. Perfect. He knows the horse well. And as you say, his racing position, racing off the speed. And I think he's a bit of a soft ground monster. And I'm very happy to go in at double figure odds. I think he has been nibbled in. He was around 12. So 10-1 I think is a very, very good bet.
Good.
Each way for me.
So
I don't know about you. Each way?
100% would be each way with this horse. Because
4 places.
Because if you look at his profile, and he's one of those, again, we'll see what happens on the day, but if you can get anything like 7-1 on the day with extra places, I think he's one you can go at quite solidly because he's just got a very consistent profile of this kind of mark.
Two more things. One, I don't think it looks like a vintage renewal. I think Carry the One is very short for what he's done. A 7-year-old, he's suddenly found a bit of improvement. And that's fair play to Michael Bell, but I think that's a factor of Ryan Moore taking them right. Yep. So he's a good few points shorter than I think he should be. Yeah. And he was a huge eye catcher at Ascot. There's no doubt in that as well. But maybe he was just on the favoured side on a real good... Like it was all set up for English Gook and he's kind of stayed on through. So I can completely understand he should be favoured, but 7-2 is very short.
Punchy, isn't it?
Yeah, very punchy. And finally, the Crisford team are in good form. They've had a few winners from not too many runners lately, but certainly banging in the winners as well. So,
and he's one of those potentially the ground dries up a fair bit, but he is one for me that will win one of these this season. I said that last year, but he will win one of these this year. They have said, I did hear Ed say this yesterday on Nick's podcast as well, that this horse will be running on soft ground this year.
Okay, I didn't hear that. So
they'll run
because
chase the ground.
He was as short as 11-2 for the Lincoln at the start of the season. I think he had a setback in the week, didn't he?
Yeah.
And hence why he's probably not ran till now. But for him to be near double the price, for obviously he's over that now, surely. So
absolutely right. Shall we kick on?
Yeah.
Right, so with best bets out of the way, well, my best bet, yours still to come. My best bet out of the way. We just quick mention of the Superlative Stakes, the race before the Bunbury Cup. There was something you wanted to say, Jack.
Well, yeah, no, I do really like Ancient Truth here. He's short enough at around 2-1, but I've been really impressed with him. Certainly where they're forming that first start. Both starts to come at Newmarket, but that race in behind Principality, El Burhan, and a couple of others that I like. I think that's really strong form to follow. He's since backed that up. You're still a little bit green, but to do that under a penalty as well, I think that's always a good sign as well. And I just think this is a race that's really winnable. I'd stop short of saying he's my strongest bet just because he's the shortest price at 2-1. But maybe he'd be my next best. Ancient Truth, I think he's quite exciting. And he shouldn't have any problems with the ground.
Do we not worry a touch, as we said about Charlie Appleby?
A little bit, but they've had a couple winners, haven't they? So slowly turning the corner. But
he's just looking for races his horses can win, I guess. And this is certainly one for win the Superlative for Ancient Truth. So for sure, we kick on to the July Cup.
Yes, and this would be my
best bet, Claxon.
Best bet of the week. To be fair, there's not too much between sort of a while and that. They're all really strong fancies this week, I must admit. So I'll probably have like a lucky 15 as well, something. But I put him up last year, and that's Kinross. I can't fathom why he's such a big price here, to be honest. Like his run at Newmarket last time out was grand as well. It was a really good reappearance. He's not going to be fully wound up for that.
I don't think he's going to be a big price much longer, mate.
How's that?
Well,
on the back of today as well. That's only a positive as well, isn't it? Softer ground.
I know. It's one of those. But the quicker you get on this tomorrow morning when this goes out, team, is if you fancy Kinross, I would do that fairly quickly.
So he's 6-1 now. I actually think he was 8-1, so he is already contracting in price. But no, look, this was the race that was going to be Frankie's big sort of race last year. I think he got suspended, didn't he? And Buick
because it was the big it was the run race he hadn't won, wasn't it?
It was. That's the one. Yeah. And he was rank keen. And to be fair, Shaquille was just brilliant on the day as well. But he ran a good race in third. I think Run to Freedom just ran him down for second later on. But he tried to win his race. But I'm not 100% certain this 3-year-old crop. I think the best 3-year-olds are the milers. Come back to City Troy. And I think the sprinter. I think Inner Sharon's beatable. Van Dijk was a rancid performance the last day as well. I can't have him at all. River Tiber's interesting. The whole dropping down in trip, but he was so disappointed at Ascot as well.
Been beaten by Van Dijk before. So.
And then you've just got Kinross who runs his race.
Yeah.
He's already had his pipe opener, which is huge. If it was first time up, I would be like, okay, it's probably a no bet. But that's blown away the cobwebs.
Yeah.
It's a race that they've said that they really like. Most importantly now as well is the ground's in his favour. And I just think, what is he now? Yeah, he is into a general 6. There is a standout 8, but we can't put that up now. So yeah, general 6-1. I think that's an outstanding each way bet, and I'm really strong on that. I'd be even on good to soft, perfect round. Got the form, always turns up.
I thought Inner Sharon was good at Ascot. Didn't have to beat a whole pile when a load came out, but he still visually was very impressive.
Yeah, and he does probably deserve his place at the market, and he would be the one probably you have to beat. But in terms of the others, like Van Dijk, River Tigers,
I'd still like to see Inner Sharon up in trip at some point again. Just because, and I know that people will say, oh, he didn't stay in the Guineas. He was punching on again at the line there. He didn't stay, he just went too quick. Because he was hitting 41 miles an hour out in front like in the first 2 furlongs. They went bananas in the Guineas, and he was still punching away at the line. I don't think that it's completely ruled out this horse. Given his family,
What
will
would
stay him up.
what would you do though? Where would you go?
I don't know. We'll have to see how this goes. They're not going to go anywhere, are they, at this point?
It's a division that's winnable.
And I would say that when you see him, he's a big horse, but he's quite close coupled really for his pedigree. Like he's quite a strong horse. He does have some of the sprinter about him. It's just the way that he was plugging on at the line suggested to me he didn't not stay in the Guineas. So maybe next year we'll see how he goes. We'll see how this goes.
Yeah.
You know? We'll see if he can really hack it in open company as a 3-year-old over 6 furlongs. We shall see. But I can totally see your angle with Kinross. Makes perfect sense to me. I think Jassour's maybe slightly overpriced. I mean, I think some of his form is good, and in general, he, you know, having run so well at this track before,
good winner, wasn't he?
He's one that will off a good gallop could run really well here. Because I mean, remember that race last year that he won with a right good gallop and came really late and got up on the line.
I think the ground might be against him, wouldn't it?
Potentially, but I think with the ground I'm most worried about is Thursday. Hence why Giavellotto is no.
Oh no, of course.
I mean, there's every chance by the weekend we could be.
Could be.
You know, it's like
easier
that.
side of good.
We know it's crazy, don't we? The July course can go from extreme to quite. It can literally, one shower can suddenly turn it what it feels like heavy ground, and then the next day we can be dry. Now I knew that was the same after. Remember when Nashville won the Falmouth?
That was in between the two last year.
It looked heavy. And then suddenly, by the end of the July Cup time, you're suddenly thinking, the ground's like nearly good ground here. So it is one of the strangest courses to punt, I think, on ground. So it's just for that Thursday. After all the rain we've had now, I can't really be against soft ground horses on Thursday. But the weekend we'll see. So if I was having if I was having a bet, I'd be leaning towards Jassour probably.
Okay.
Probably, just each way.
Very good.
Right, we kick on again. John Smith's Cup at York. Are you going to enlighten us about the John Smith's Cup?
This wouldn't be as strong as the others, but one horse who I think, purely because of his trainer, I think is a good angle. I'm not going to try and pronounce it. It is his actual anti-post favourite. Al Jahani is the trainer. Haunted Dream. He was obviously trained by Ed Dunlop last year. Grand horse, and he ran successive races, like just held his form all year. I think maybe he probably is at his best on quicker ground, but he's got form on good to soft. And I just think there's question marks sort of for a few of these. Liberty Lanes, Keen, Botanical, would he run? I wouldn't be sure about him. And just as I was crossing them off, Bullstar as well. There's quite a few in here that I think might come out, and I just think Haunted Dream, he's a likely runner. I just think it's really hard to pick holes in what he's done this year, and he's just a really solid one at the top of the market. That being said, I think he's 6 to 1, 7 to 1, and I think he's a really solid each way chance. Obviously, the Doyler's at Newmarket to ride as Group 1, isn't he? So Van Dijk. So Muscat takes over, so I wouldn't be too fussed about. Oh, that's not a negative in that respect. I just think he's a solid enough each way. One of the bigger price that I'll probably wait for until Dex is Kingfisher King. And that's not just because they were trained by Haggett. I think this horse has nuggets of form. I assume he's had a bit of a setback. This is his first start of the season, but I think he's a horse that can go well fresh. And he should get in off a mark of 96. I don't think it's the deepest renewal. So I think he should get in, and I think he'll be interesting. He was around 25 to 1 sort of when I first looked, and he's been nibbled in. But no, he's one I'm going to wait for the Dex, and obviously his first preference would definitely be Haunted Dream, and his form in the Wolverton's very good. Absolutely, right. And then finally, you just got one extra one for us at Ascot that you wanted to mention. Yes. It's all coming at once, isn't it? Now, this would have been my best bet of the week, but it's not fair to put up a horse that we don't have the prices for. Yeah. It's in the Fillies handicap, and that's Azahara Palace. Okay. She ran, if you can get a chance, watch back her run in the Kensington Palace. She was in stall 1, and as it was just an absolutely impossible task. Sylvester had to take her back, and she was literally last. Like Aurora Dawn, she completely blew the start, 5 lengths, and she was ahead of Azahara Palace. And they've come over towards like the middle to near side, haven't it? And from stall 1, it was sorry, not stall 1, stall 20, 30 or whatever. Yeah. She had the coffin box as it worked out, and she's very well handicapped. She doesn't mind softer ground as well. Hugh Morrison's been banging in the winners. I can't see many negatives at all. And people are going to look at maybe the duck egg next to her name last time. 8th was a really good run. So for me as a Horror Palace would have been the strongest bet. It's just there's no price, so I can't. Anything shorter than 2-1 would be short enough then. But I'm hoping you might get a price on her, sort of around 5-6-1.
Excellent. Right. Anything else to add?
No, I think that's kind of it, isn't it? Maybe a summary of our best bets, which is Kinross for me and for you is a while, yeah.
And so those would be the 2 best bets.
Yep.
Do you want to mention some of the others that you have?
Yes, so obviously July.
Run through them. Boom, boom, boom.
Kinross, July Cup.
Haunted Dream,
and John Smith's Cup. Bunbury Cup, we've got a while as well. I'd second that. As a Horror Palace in the Fillies handicap, the 440.
Fantastic.
And Ancient Truth in the Superlative, I think he's decent as well. For all 2-year-old races wouldn't be for me usually. I'll break that rule to back him. I think he's quite good.
Wonderful stuff. Right. Responsible gambling message, as always. Please do gamble responsibly. Remember to keep it fun. Reminder, please do get in touch with us at tickets@racingtv.com or comment if you're interested in going with your partner to the Ladies Syndicate Open Day on July the 20th in Newmarket with Jane Chapel-Hyam. I think it'd be a fantastic day. And if you are interested in going, we can certainly maybe sort you out some Opulence or some Racing TV merchandise as well. So that's something that you should really look to get involved in.
What more can you ask for?
What more can you ask for? So
it really is such a great opportunity to go. I can't stress that enough, to go and have a look at them out on the heath and have a look around a yard as well.
Exactly, and so somewhere like Jane, who will be very open and welcoming to you, please do get involved if that's something that you would be interested in, and you can attend on the 20th of July. So that's a Saturday as well, just for your own convenience. So really, there are no excuses why you can't go. And of course, we should mention Goodwood coming up. Wonderful horses in fantastic form. Arctic Thunders, the Dashing Darcys, Phoenix Passion getting a 4-timer up for Opulence. So all these horses doing so well, and obviously Purosangue going to the Stewards Cup. It's only right that we go out on the road, take flat out on the road.
Big news, isn't it? We're not going to be in this stuffy little office. Where are we going, Joey?
Well, there's a chance we could be at Ed Walker's or Andrew Balding's, but that is to be announced. That will be confirmed. We've got to keep the punters guessing.
But how good that be? On the road, taking flat out to new heights.
Exactly. So please do get excited about that. We'll do a lovely little stable tour with either Andrew Balding or Ed Walker, depending on which one we decide to go for.
Yep.
And we'll make a whole fun episode from the yard with hopefully some extra bonus content as well. So it could be it should be a very, very interesting show for you guys to look out for. So that'll be the week where 24th is a Wednesday, the middle of, just before Glorious Goodwood.
Perfect. And as ever, let us know your thoughts. City of Troy is always last week was the topic of discussion in the comments, so we're intrigued to read them as ever. Let us know your best bets as well, of course.
Absolutely. And we will see you very soon. Have a great week, and we will see you, I guess, next week.
Or in a couple of weeks on the road, I don't know.
Or in a couple of weeks on the road.
I'm not sure. I don't think we'll do next week, no?
No.
Okay. 2 weeks' time.
2 weeks' time.